What's the darkest secret anyone has ever told you? Serious. I have droopy eyes and a learning disability due to head trauma I sustained as a child, but I never knew what happened. I was drinking with my older stepbrother and he broke down crying, telling me he's sorry for hitting me and causing all those issues. Apparently when he was 15 he decided to strike me in the head and I wasn't the same after. I can't tell you how much it hurts knowing this. That's a tough one. Thanks for sharing. Hope you're doing well. My buddy killed 2 people trying to rob him with a rock in Brazil while on vacation. He came back with bad scratches and cuts, but he never told the authorities in fear that they'd arrest him or flip the story because he's a foreigner. Wait, he killed them with a rock, or they tried to rob him with a rock? He killed them with a rock. They tried to rob him with a long pipe and a pistol. I'm assuming it wasn't loaded, but I never asked for the deep details and I've never brought it up since he's told me. This happened over 4 years ago and it still bugs him to this day. He was a collegiate wrestler at the time and one of the nicest people you'd meet. Nowadays he's still very nice, but when we go out I notice him always looking over his shoulder and scanning the room, not predatorily but almost like he's waiting for another attack. Makes me sad he has to deal with that now. When I was 15 my cousin and I raided my dad's home brew and got plastered. That night she confessed to me that her father, my dad's brother-in-law, was a secret cross-dresser. She'd come home early from a party and discovered "Hi monsieur," nothing to be ashamed of on his part. But he was staunchly conservative and a total pompous ass. Last person you'd expect. My dad and grandfather couldn't stand the bloke. I broke her confidence and ultimately told my dad. I was a kid and I didn't know what to do with the information. Dad of course didn't tell anyone, but he did say, "I'll only tell one person. Just the old man when he's on his deathbed so he can die with a smile on his face." I love your dad's response. I've had a few people confide in me they were molested, raped. My friend when I was 12 started seeing a 40-plus-year-old she met on Yahoo Chat. I told my parents. My parents told her parents. He was arrested. Trial happened. Very graphic details came out about his multiple 10 to 13 years old victims. He was sent to prison for 10 years. She was in love and has hated me since. I tried to reconnect with her, thinking now that we're in our 30s she'd want to maybe talk. She immediately blocked me on all social media. My husband told me he was raped multiple times as a young boy by an adult neighbor. He never told anyone except me. The neighbor died a few years before he told me. I'm not sure if you need to hear this based on the openness and matter-of-fact nature of your post, but I want you to know that you absolutely did the right thing. Rose-colored glasses can last a lifetime, even after the shock to reality that your friend experienced, but it's so important you pulled her from the alternative here. Some people we just have to love from a distance and that's okay. Greater than some people we just have to love from a distance and that's okay. Goddamn. If this isn't the lesson so many people need to learn, I dunno what is. My older sister admitted to me that when she was a teenager she went to the back streets, an area full of warehouses, with her dad's gun and thought about killing herself. My sister and I are 5 years apart. We didn't become close until I was about 13. She admitted this to me when I was about 14 or 15. I don't know if she remembers confiding in me about that detail, but I'm grateful she thought about her family members. I can't imagine growing up without her. I had a conversation with my mom after she downed a bottle of pills. She was out of it and was 100% honest. I was never planned for, wanted, or loved. I was an immediate regret. I knew this already, but it was nice to hear it out loud. I didn't call 911 or anything. Just lets the cards fall where they may. My mom went right back to gaslighting me and doesn't remember the conversation. She's confused why I moved 300 miles away and only talk to her twice a year. Oh God, I can't imagine how that must have felt. How old were you then? that someone I knew ran someone over with a car a few years ago. He couldn't help it. It was raining and an elderly woman dressed dark subtly stepped out between parked cars. He had no chance to react in time. The dark part being that when the police came to inspect the case, they told him not to worry, because they would take care that he didn't get into trouble, because the old lady was just a foreigner. They reported that his car was in perfect condition. His wipers brand new. Anything to deflect any fault at all from Hi Monsieur. Holy shit, where was this? I'm betting Saudi Arabia or similar country. My dad worked there for a while and once witnessed a car crash between a Pakistani immigrant worker and a Saudi citizen. It was totally the Saudi guy's fault, but the police arrested the Pakistani. My dad tried to point out that it wasn't his fault, but they just shrugged and took the poor guy away. Probably deported immediately. Or worse, not the US. Didn't realize how fucked that was back then, but a girl I went to school with, we were like 10, told me she wasn't allowed to see her dad anymore because he put gummy bears up her vagina. What the fuck kind of horrific shit even is this? Sadly, this is far from the worst thing I have read in criminal case files when I was in college. A couple of years back I was sitting at the bar watching a baseball game and having a pint. Just a handful of other people there, and me and this one guy at the bar were engaged in the typical sports conversation. After a couple of hours of the game, this guy felt comfortable enough with me, or just needed to get it out, to tell me about his rape. I didn't really know what to do except to just let him get it out. The "it's not your fault" platitude seems pretty hollow in the situation, but there wasn't much else I could muster. I asked if he was seeking help, and that there are many support groups for men that have been through similar situations. I offered the guy a hug and he damn near tackled me. I'm a pretty introverted person, so that level of trust from a stranger kind of freaks me out. But I hope I was at least able to help him somewhat, even if it was to just release some of the pressure for a little while. For a moment I thought the tackling part meant he was really offended a grown man would even suggest such a thing to another grown man. My friend grew up with a horrifically abusive father. One time, her younger brother stole a candy bar, then got her older sister to take the fall for it. The dad bought a Costo pack of full-sized candy bars and forced the older sister to eat them until she vomited, then made her eat her vomit. I've heard it all working in children's mental health, but this story really bothers me. Please don't reply with similar stories because I can't take the monsieur. I suppose it wasn't a secret. I just didn't know about it for a long time. My little sister was molested by our babysitter's husband when she was 4 and I was 6. She told me when we were in our mid-30s. It triggered a memory, walking around the house looking for her, and finally walking into the garage where she was there with "Hi Monsieur." He shouted at me to get out, which I did. I didn't see what was going on. She was being forced to give him a blowjob, or I didn't process it. It also triggered another memory, his older daughter, 12-ish I think, undressing for the boys in the playhouse in the backyard. At the time I thought it was really weird, and now I know it was due to trauma. I tried to get my sister to do something about it, but she didn't want to, and the statute of limitations was long expired. Tried telling her that she maybe could save some other kid. Sis is dead now. Drank herself to death in her early 40s. I'm so sorry. My friend came to school and told me something like this one day in 4th grade. Dude, I just ran into this old lady's mailbox in front of her house with my big-ass bike on the way to school. She was sitting out front on her wheelchair, so I got the hell out of there. Anyways, she wheeled herself down to see the damage. Lost control on the steep pavement to the road and got hit by a car. He said he had never biked so fast before. We're pretty sure she died. God may rest her soul. Lost control on the steep pavement to the road and got hit by a car. Shit, that fucking came out of nowhere. I had to read that again. My boyfriend at the time admitted to him being bi and I said, "Whoa, me too," made us a lot closer tbh. Friend confessed that he moved back to our hometown to take care of his dying father. Ended up having an affair with his father's wife. She was a foreign bride closer to his age than his father's. At first my friend joked about banging his stepmother, but as he got drunker he got sadder and eventually his true feelings about what happened came out and he ended up sobbing in my arms. Grief can make people do wildly out of character things. I don't know your friend, but that's what it sounds like to me. Was once told by my best friend that he had attempted suicide multiple times, and that he was gonna do it once and for all before our friend group started a group call and we joked and laughed for a couple hours. Then he put me on a private call and we talked about how he was mentally, but now he's better than he was. He whored himself out to sleep on guys' couches and share their drugs while he waited on his first few checks as a high school teacher. Straight, though, he insists, and has only dated women. There are straight men who sell sex to other men. It's possible he's telling the truth. This is apparently common in porn as well. Sometimes you do things you wouldn't normally do to survive. An elderly man confined to a wheelchair asked me to help him end his life. My friend got drunk and was complaining about one of her other friends. She told me that she kept her secret, but that girl was ungrateful. Then she told me the secret. Her friend was raped by a homeless man on the way home. I never slipped a word about that conversation until now, and never trusted that friend again. Fuck, that's really sad. Fuck that girl who told. I've had homeless people threaten to rape me. It was one of the reasons I moved away from downtown Portland. Makes me shudder. That poor girl. I had a coworker who used to confide in me. She got drunk one time and told me the reason behind her divorce. She found a VHS made with an old-school video camera in which her daughter, 11 years old at the time, was sleeping in her underwear. The video was recorded secretly by her husband and hidden away with other disgusting masturbation material. Dude was perving on his own daughter. This all happened 10 years before I even met my coworker. Charges were never pressed and to this day she doesn't know where he is. My mom told me that my stepdad is not my half-sister's dad. He had a vasectomy and I'm assuming they didn't want to reverse it. So she handpicked her father from a sperm bank. My sister is totally her golden child vanity project. Pretty sure my mom told me so. I had to share the burden of the secret. Not even my sister knows. And before anyone says I should tell her, I absolutely will not. It is not my place and I'm already the odd man out. They would all 110% turn on me. It is definitely not your place. It is something that she has to do herself. Buy the whole family DNA heritage test for Christmas. I know someone this worked for. Lol. My best friend in high school had a close friend who he knew through Army cadets. I never met her. Pass away in a car accident. He revealed to me, I don't quite know why, that he always felt guilt because there was one time they were at her cottage, and these guys basically raped her right in front of him after beating him up when he tried to stop it. I don't even remember how I responded at the time. I have one. My ex-fiance covered me with lighter fluid and teased me with a lighter. I had to jump out a window and run into a putrid duck pond. I've only ever told Reddit. Edit. This was 3 years ago. I'm doing okay. I'm safe, comfortable and happy. Nothing legal came of this incident. I chose to leave the situation and move out. A friend told me he got raped as a boy by his older female cousin. But he's a dumbass and just brags like, haha, I had sex before I knew what it was. Losers. He's not lying. He's not that kind of guy. Haven't seen him since elementary. I hope he's more mature by now and realizes he has to tell that to someone that can help. Hi monsieur, he's affected by it. I saw it in his eyes when he talked about it. But he's just trying to hide a trauma as much as he can. This is a perfect example of toxic masculinity. Sexual assault against men and boys isn't taken seriously, especially when a woman is the assaulter, and male victims are conditioned into viewing their trauma as a weakness. Plus, popular media loves to enforce the idea that men always want sex. So male rape victims aren't taken seriously when they do come out about it. It's absolutely heartbreaking that your friend felt he had to hide his pain. I'm glad he at least had you as a confidant, and I hope he's doing better now. Absolutely! Exclamation mark. Why can't people realize that rape is rape regardless of gender? Jesus. Poor kid. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.